What's up, YouTube? PokePrimer here. Primer to deliver you week 2 of our trek through the UPA Showdown division here on the channel. After picking up a big 1-0 victory last week over the Sydney Thunderous and Cowpat, we are taking on BigTimeBrownie and the Green Bay Yampers this week. You can see right here, his team is pretty scary, as are pretty much all the teams here. Pretty much, there's no debate on that. All the teams are scary in this league. His team consists of Tapu Koko, regular Garchomp, Mega Kangaskhan, Slowbro, Scizor, Arcanine, Articuno, Weezing, Passimian, Sceptile, and Vullaby. So, all really scary mons. Pretty straightforward. All of them are really scary. All of them can apply a lot of threats to my team. You know, Koko was one of the best mons in draft in its generation. Garchomp has always been incredibly good, and with things like Scale Shot now, it's even scarier. We had like the scare factor last week with the Mega Garchomp, so regular Garchomp is going to be just as scary. Mega Kang is so incredibly good, even if it doesn't have access to Seismic Toss. It's still having that extra hit on things is always good, and it's just so strong and bulky. It's really hard to break through. Slowbro is bulky as hell. He's got really good defensive options with like Slowbro, Weezing, Arcanine, Articuno, all solid defensive options. All incredibly good defensive Pokemon that can like switch around my team and really mess us up. Scizor, again, if it just gets an SD off, it can really destroy my team. Just spam Bullet Punch through some of my mons, especially being a problem for like my Mamoswine and stuff like that. So it's going to be something that's I gotta be careful about. Passimian is always a problem as well. Scarf Passimian is just so strong. We've used Passimian several times here, and every single time we've used it, it's just been a monster. It just comes in and claims kills. It's so gross. And it has so much strong natural bulk that like people tend to forget, so when they go to try to kill it, it doesn't die, and then it kills them, and they're confused. And then Sceptile, and Vullaby have their own niches that they fill for the team, and could potentially be problematic if any of them get going. So, lots of potentially threatening situations can take place here. But I think that the team that we've built has a good chance of combating them appropriately. So, let's hop on over and take a look. So, we got, first off, we have Misao the Esperion. With the choice specs, Magic Bounce, Psychic Dazzling Gleam, Baton Pass, and Shadow Ball. Dry Pass is allowed in this league, so that's why I went with Baton Pass for the momentum purposes. But basically, this thing doesn't really need a lot of help. There's not very much on this team that resists what Sylveon can do. Not a lot resists Sylveon at all. So, with that being said, it creates a very interesting scenario where Esperion hits the field and can just potentially claim a kill most of the time, which is very nice. The resists to Esperion are Slowbro, Scizor, and Vullaby in a way, because it's immune to the psychic attacks, obviously. Now, Vullaby does not appreciate a Specs Dazzling Gleam, which is also there for the Garchomp. So if we can smack either of those with that, that'd be great. Vullaby gets 2 KO by the Specs Dazzling Gleam, so that's really nice. Scizor still takes a decent chunk from the Psychic, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not a huge loss if we hit Scizor with it. And Slowbro isn't known for its Spadef, so unless he builds a very Spadef-focused Slowbro, or like an AV Slowbro kind of build, It's still going to be taking a decent chunk. We also do have the Shadow Ball, which will allow us to get some big specs damage off on that, as well as the Scizor, if it comes to that. So this thing has options pretty much to take care of all of the things that are problematic to it, which is very nice for us. We have enough speed to outpace the Garchomp, so anything... So basically we outspeed his entire team, barring any potential Scarfers, and Tapu Koko. So that's pretty much the gist of that. And Sceptile. Forgot about Sceptile. Yeah, we outspeed pretty much everything except for those few options, and we can with that allows us to really mess up his team. So I'm really hoping that Esperion can put in a lot of work for us this week. Definitely can apply a lot of pressure for sure against this team. We'll see if it works out. Next up we have Shishio, the Xurkitree, Choice Scarf, Xurkitree, Volt Switch Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, and Toxic. We have enough speed to outpace base 80s and below, so things like Passimian. So we'll be able to outspeed like Scarf Passimian and anything slower than that, and then anything faster than that that's not Scarfed. This thing hits his team incredibly hard. Like, he does not appreciate electric types at all. The things that resist electric, being like Koko and Sceptile, aren't the bulkiest mons in the world naturally, so they won't appreciate Stab, Volt Switch, or Thunderbolt, especially if the terrain is up. And on top of that, we do have the Dazzling Gleam to catch the Garchomp if it comes in on us. That's realistically, like, in a lot of scenarios, it very well could be the only Pokemon that could switch in to Xurkitree. We also have the Toxic. Toxic is there pretty much for anything that's like extra bulky. Like we can catch something like the Arcanine or even the Garchomp on its switch-ins with a Toxic and really mess them up. That's pretty much the goal for the most part with that. But mainly this thing is going to be like try to catch it is all about trying to catch the Garchomp with a Dazzling Gleam, and then trying to Volt Switch around the team and just chip down everything. It's pretty much Xurkitree's whole goal this week, which I'm sure it'll be able to do something. Next up, we have Gine, the Suicune, Rocky Helmet Suicune, fully physically defensive, pressure ability, Scald, Ice Beam, Rest, Sleep Talk. Pretty much the same set as last week, just it went more heavy on the physical defense. Rocky Helmet specifically is for the Kangaskhan. Because obviously with the double hits, if we can come in on something like a Body Slam or even just a Fake Out, we get that extra chip damage off on him, and that is massive because it adds up really fast. Especially if we can keep tanking that damage. That's why we have the Rest and Sleep Talk, so that we can tank that damage a bunch, come in against something we might be faster than, which a lot of his defensive mons we are much faster than. Fire a Rest off in front of it, and then proceed to get all of our health back, and then Sleep Talk, get some offensive moves, and really mess his team up. From there, also, he has nothing that really wants to get Skull burned. A lot of his more prominent threats are pretty physical. Could be Special Koko, but a lot of his threats are pretty physical. Things like Passimian and Scizor, none of which want to be burned. So Skull burns are going to be really nice in this game. And obviously we have Ice Beam for the Garchomp because it's Garchomp. I want to hit it with an Ice Beam. You want to hit Garchomp with your ice moves. So I think Suicune is going to be really good for us in this matchup. A lot of potential for it to really mess his team up. A lot of potential to get Rocky Helmet chip off, which is nice. So hopefully we'll be able to get a bunch of that off, and it'll help us really whittle the team down. Next up, we have Aoshi, the Mamoswine, with the Assault Vest. Thick Fat ability. I actually meant to change that. I meant to change Thick Fat to Oblivious. The match has already happened, by the way, so it doesn't matter now. But I did mean to change it from Thick Fat to Oblivious. I noticed it in the game itself, but it's not that big of a deal. Mainly I wanted to change it to Oblivious because I wanted it to be immune to the Intimidate from Arcanine, so that if that thing came in on us, we weren't going to be intimidated, and we would be a much bigger threat to it. Obviously, like if it was faster than us, it would be able to take us out with a Flare Blitz or something, but I definitely think that like this Mammoth Swine spread is basically making the hard read that he's going to be like fully defensive Arcanine, which I think against my team with things like Salamence, Zarude, Surfetched, Mega Mawile, like I think fully physically defensive Arcanine just makes sense. It's really, really good against our team. So I expect that. So what we did was we speed crept a min speed Arcanine, like not min speed like minus speed nature, but like min speed isn't like no speed investment, not an uninvested speed, just like bulky Arcanine. At one point, and we went with an adamant nature because we wanted to just be able to smack things as hard as possible. Then threw the rest into HP, and then the last 4 to defense. Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, and Rock Slide. Earthquake and Icicle Crash, pretty much all we needed. Earthquake hits everything on the team except for Articuno and Weezing, Articuno, Volibee, and Weezing if it has Levitate. Which it could be Neutralizing Gas, but I don't think it would be for this matchup. Mainly due to the fact that we have Mammoth Swine. I think it has to be Levitate. I think that's pretty much. I think that was pretty much a given. It was going to be Levitate if it came. So that's fine. We packed the Rock Slide for that Articuno just in case it shows up, because it will hit that 4 times effective, and that would be really nice. Icicle Crash and Ice Shard just always hit hard, especially because it's an adamant Mammoth Swine. Anything that resists it is still going to take a chunk. Anything that doesn't resist it is going to get destroyed by it as well. Ice Shard specifically important because of the Garchomp and the Sceptile, both of which are problems for this team. Ice Shard, obviously being 4 times effective on the Garchomp, will allow us to shut that thing down if it starts getting SDs going or gets scale shots up or whatnot. No matter what it does, we can shut it down with the Ice Shards, as well as with the Sceptile. If he brings like an Electric Seat Unburdened set, we can shut that thing down with an Ice Shard as well. Because Sceptile, even if it's getting the +1 in defense, is still pretty frail. So I think we can, like, I'm sure it would miss out on a KO on something. We'd be able to get some damage off and then put it in range of the Ice Shard pretty easily. So Mammoth Swine definitely can be an important asset to this team this week, I'm sure. It'll put in a lot of work. We have Hyoteko, the Skuntank, Heavy Duty Boots with the Aftermath, Poison Jab, Fire Blast, Sucker Punch, and Defog. Just a mixed defensive set. Nothing too spectacular here. Nothing real. Like, there's nothing to this set. And really, there's no calcs behind this set. I just made it like a mixed bulky set to just get the most benefit out of it against this team. There really wasn't anything that I specifically wanted to wall with this thing. Poison Jab, just for stab purposes. It'll be super effective on the Koko, and potentially can get poisons off on things like Slowbro or Articuno or whatever. So that could be really interesting if we can get that off. Fire Blast is there specifically for the Scizor, because obviously Scizor can just come in on this thing anytime it wants to. But we can just Fire Blast it and nuke it and get rid of it. And then Sucker Punch, just for that extra little bit of priority if something's getting out of hand, or if I can determine that something is choiced. I can bring this thing in and get a Sucker Punch off on it, either finish it off or get the chip damage that I need to finish it off with something else, which is important. And then we have the Defog because, looking at his team, there's things like Toxic Spikes on Weezing that I saw as a potential bring. Could have brought Rocks on Garchomp. But as well as like Screens on Koko. Screens on Koko was something that I was really considering, because he did put in so much work with Garchomp week 1. So maybe he might want to try to make Garchomp shine again. So I could see him like trying to put up screens and get Garchomp behind screens and have it just go ham. But thankfully, with Defog, it could get rid of those. So that's an option that we can deal with, potentially. So hopefully that's something we can deal with. It won't come to bite us in the ass. And last but not least, we are bringing Kaoru, the Mega Mawile, Play Rough, Fire Fang, Iron Head, and Knock Off. Pretty straightforward. This thing is meant to just smack things as hard as possible. Running enough speed to outpace an uninvested Weezing. I don't expect Scizor to be uninvested, so that's why I'm not too worried about trying to outspeed that. Plus, if it's going to hit us with something, it's going to hit us with like a Bullet Punch, which would be faster than us anyway. So there's no point in trying to reach out to outpace like uninvested Scizor as well. And that pretty straightforward. Just 4 attacks that hit his team really hard. We have 172 Adamant because I wanted the max HP because with the Intimidate, put us in a situation where we intimidate something and it just allows us to bulk extra hits because we do gain that extra bulk once we Mega Evolve. And then just be able to tank a hit real well on that end. Play Rough smacks a lot of the team really hard just because it's Stab. Pretty much 2 KOs, anything that doesn't resist it, which is one of the many perks of having Mega Mawile, is it just claims KOs, pretty much. If you don't resist its attacks, you die. That's pretty much the way the thing goes. Fire Fang, because I wanted to be able to take out the Scizor, we can leave even a +2 Bullet Punch. Depending on the spread, obviously, but we can live +2 Bullet Punch, but probably try to get an Intimidate off on it first, so we can deal with it appropriately. But Fire Fang OHKOs that, no matter what. Unless he's Octoberry, of course. Like, he could be Octoberry, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Knock Off, get rid of items. Never hurts to get rid of items. That's always a beneficial thing to do. And then we have Iron Head for our secondary stab because, well, the things that resist Play Rough don't resist Iron Head except for Scizor. And again, we have the Fire Fang for Scizor, so it doesn't really matter. So basically, well, Arcanine resists it, but we have plenty of things to deal with Arcanine. So Arcanine's not like a problem that we're worried about. Yeah, overall, I think Mega Mawile can just put in a lot of work against this team. I'm sure it will, because Mega Mawile puts in work anytime it shows up. But that's going to be it for our team builder. Hopefully this team will be able to put in a lot of work in this matchup. And without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. And here we are with the battle. We are here against BigTimeBrownie and the Green Bay Yampers. You just watched the team builder, so you know why we brought what we brought. He brought the Arcanine, the Tapu Koko, the Weezing, the Garchomp, the Scizor, and the Passimian. So a couple noteworthy omissions here. Let me take a quick gander at the website once again so that I can properly go over the deets with you there. Let me actually bookmark this one because I forgot to bookmark this one. Okay, so noteworthy omissions. He does not bring the Mega Kangaskhan, which is really, really good. That thing is such a pain in the ass to beat, so I'm really, really happy he didn't bring that thing to the matchup. I'm not entirely sure what scared it off or what prevented it from coming. Especially, my only fighting type is Surfetch, but it's much faster and would be able to do plenty of damage to it before it could even do anything to it. Plus, he has some decent switch-ins to Surfetch. But no Slowbro, so not having that regen going on a constant basis is really, really good. Plus, it makes Psychic from Esperion a little bit freer. Only thing that resists the Psychic is that Scizor. No Articuno, which is fine. No Sceptile, which just loses a lot of speed for him. But that's not that big of a deal. Just gives him one less, like, really strong way of breaking through Suicune. No Vullaby, which basically means, like, no Vullaby is not that big of a deal. It's just, again, it's one less thing that could have sponged a Psychic move. Because his ways of sponging Psychic moves were Scizor, Slowbro, and Vullaby, and he brought only one of those. So that makes things a little bit better for us. I'm not entirely sure what kind of spreads he's going to have. Arcanine will probably be like a bulkier set. But Passimian is usually like some kind of choice set, usually. So we'll see if that is the case. Not sure what he's going to do with the Garchomp. Scizor, again, is another one that's probably up in the air. Weezing, I'm sure, is going to be pretty defensive. And then Koko could really be anything, honestly. But we're going to go ahead and see right now. It's not giving me the play with music off, so I'm just going to turn the music off manually. And we're going to hop into this matchup. So we see the lead with the Tapu Koko against our Mamoswine. We would have seen the lead with Koko versus Mamoswine. There it is. I want to make sure the Koko got on there. So immediately he's in a bad spot, right? So I'm like AV Mamo, as you saw before, so kind of puts Koko in a bad spot. If he specs, he doesn't want to reveal that too early, I don't think. I think that's something he would try to avoid. So also, if I'm Scarfed Mamo or something, he doesn't want to have to deal with that immediately in the game. So he goes into the Weezing as I actually miss my Icicle Crash turn 1. I wanted to get some damage off on this thing, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case. I go into Suicune here, as it's one of my bulkiest Mons, and he's going to be able to get the Sludge Bomb and Poison off on me immediately, which really sucks. So I'm going to fire off a Scald here as he goes into the Koko. No burn on the Koko, which is fine, as he's going to U-turn as I go back into Mamoswine. So getting the cycle going here, as I'm going to now go back into Suicune, as he actually goes for the Willow this time, so revealing the Will-O-Wisp, I know it's coming. I'm going to go for a rest here, as he goes for the Sludge Bomb, so I have my rest up, and I'm Gucci, so we're doing pretty good here. I go for the Sleep Talk, I get the Ice Beam, and I actually freeze his Koko. That is so massive. That freeze is so huge, so unbelievably huge. Now, granted, I could have still, like, even if I didn't get the freeze, I could have still gone into Mamo, and we probably could have continued the little cycle going for a little while. Or you could have, like, doubled into something else to deal with Mamoswine or whatever. Like, there's plenty of options that could have happened if I didn't get the freeze, but the freeze pretty much forced him to play like this, just kind of either sack it off or whatever. So I go for the Sleep Talk again, and I get the Ice Beam again, but I don't trust it this turn. So I'm going to go into Mamoswine just in case he gets thawed out and gets the electric move off, and then I just fire off an Icicle Crash, as he actually goes into the Scizor this time. Go into my Suicune again on the Scizor, because it's my immediate Scizor switch-in, as he's actually going to fire off a Bullet Punch and get some Rocky Helmet Chip. I fire off a Scald. I get a burn this time, but he's Lumberry Scizor. He's actually a very bulky Scizor as well. And goes for the Roost there. So pretty much not much has been done to the Scizor at this point, but I'm just going to keep firing off Scalds on this Weezing. Get it whittled down pretty low, and I'm going to just rest in front of its face again. So Suicune is putting in a crazy amount of work this game. We're going to go ahead and go for the Sleep Talk, and we get the Ice Beam this time and take out the Tapu Koko here. We see the Close Combat come out from the Passimian here, as it's going to get its defenses lowered and take the Rocky Helmet Chip, but we take like no damage from that. And we get the Sleep Talk rest this time, which is very unfortunate. So we're actually going to wake up, and we're going to go for the rest, but I forgot. I completely forgot. I should have just gone for Scald there. I completely forgot what Electric Terrain did outside of Boost Electric moves. I completely forgot that it affected sleep. So, realistically, I should have clicked Scald there and blown this King Julian out of the universe. I could have easily rested up later on the Weezing, because now he wouldn't have any Electric Terrain setting available. I could easily come in on the Weezing later and get up a rest against that thing, or probably rest up against the Scizor as well. So I had options to rest up on, but I unfortunately didn't get the chance to do so. But still got a lot of Rocky Helmet Chip on this thing. But I just go into Skuntank here. My entire mindset here is to sack Skuntank. I don't really need it for his team at this point. And get the aftermath damage off on him as well. And now I can go into Circuitry and fire off the Dazzling Gleam, and because I am Scarfed, and I figured out he was Scarfed as well. So I'm going to be able to take that thing out. I go into Mawile here, get the Intimidate off on it as he gets the Swords Dance up. Bullet Punch still does a really big chunk of damage, but I'm able to get off the Fire Fang and take out his Scizor. He goes into the Arcanine, and I just kind of go ahead for the knockoff here. Did not expect him to teleport immediately. I guess probably makes sense because he figured I would probably switch out to get some form of momentum. But that's not the case. I just decided to go for the knockoff because I knew I could go into something like Mamoswine and immediately threaten it. But thankfully that's he didn't do that. So he goes for the teleport as I get rid of its boots. He goes for the Sludge Bomb, which I think he was probably just predicting me to switch again. I just go for the knockoff and get rid of this thing's Black Sludge. Now I'm going to go into Esperion here. He went for Sludge Bomb again, which is very interesting that he went for that. But I'm just going to go for the Psychic, take that thing out. He goes for the Scale Shot immediately. That's why I switched. I expected him to go for Scale Shot. Psychic did not KO him from full. That was like no way of that happening, so I knew he would go for the Scale Shot and then be able to outspeed me, and then it would be a pain in the butt later. I also didn't want to lose my Esperion just in case. So I go into Mawile and then sack it off to the Earthquake so I can get in my Mamoswine. Now I know he's going to switch here. There's no way he stays in. So I'm just going to Earthquake as the Arcanine comes in. And he's actually min-speed Arcanine because I speed creeped that. So I'm going to be able to take him out with the Earthquake. And he goes for the Scale Shot here. Gets 3 hits, so decent damage. Gets the speed boost, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to hit him with an Icicle Crash. Even with the Yachi Berry, it does not matter. He is taken out by the Icicle Crash, and we win a big 4-0 win, week 2 of the UPA Showdown division. So we are on a roll so far here in the UPA. Really, really loving it so far. So really, really excited to keep playing here. The competition's been pretty top notch, and this was a really, really fun game. GG's to BigTimeBrownie. The freeze definitely sucked. I think the match would have been a decent chunk closer if the freeze hadn't happened. There would have been a lot more crazy plays that would have had to go on to keep the match close. But regardless, I think it was still a really fun game. Big GG's for sure. But yeah, I think that's going to be all for this one. If you guys have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, I'm PokePrimer, signing off. Peace.